Hi and welcome to Interactions Thrivalism. I'm Toby Brown, and in this episode I'm talking to Tom Vaughton of Varn Media. First started to get to know Tom really over lockdown, as I was massively impressed with the way he used it as an opportunity to reset his business in a way that really benefited the well-being of the people that work there. Since then he's continued to think creatively about how and where they work, buying a mobile office in the form of a camper van, or camper Varn as they obviously call it, so people can work wherever they like, and more recently creating a semi-outdoor office in the middle of a beautiful wood, which is something I'm surprised hasn't caught on more widely because it's incredible. Here's our chat. I hope you enjoy it. I'm here with Tom Vaughton of Varn, search and marketing agency. Tom, I think the best starting point for this is if you could just describe to me where we are and what you can see from here.
Yeah, so we're in our what we call Woodland office. So what you can see here is essentially a giant clear structure, possibly also called a marquee, with people working in it, and an outdoor sort of covered area and various umbrellas for people to work outside, and then the rest of it is about 30,000 trees.
30,000 trees?
Yeah.
Just a couple of trees?
Yeah, just a couple.
And it's obviously quite an unusual place for a marketing agency to use as a base.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can probably see from the expressions on the people's faces who are working here, but tell me what led to you having a Woodland office and what you feel it's done for you as a business.
I think what sped it up was COVID. I think we were probably going that way anyway, just because we've always had a view that work needs to be fun, but as good for you as it can be. I mean, some days don't go to plan, but, you know, for the most part. And I think it came from a place of trying to think of what is the office, what does it mean, which is why it's always interesting reading what you guys are up to, because it is that trying to be more intentional about the office. And I think our point was that we realised the office were the people, not the building. So how can we make a space that's better for the people and better for business, so not just for fun for the sake of it, but commercially made sense. So it sort of came from that space, although we started off just by me doing a classic bold claim when we'd had a meeting in the woods and it went well.
We're all going to work outside.
Yeah. No, literally, I was like, and we did a Christmas do. It looked like a cheap version of the Game of Thrones set one Christmas in the woods with like a giant tarpaulin, and everyone's like, this is brilliant, and I was like, great, we should make it an office. And everyone's like, great, and I was like, you'll forget that by January. Yeah, and I was like, oh no, I haven't costed that. And that's how it started. And then you had COVID and walk-in meetings and outside meetings, but it evolved. But the key thing was we took the team with us. They're involved in the process. Yeah, we sort of ended up here, which is essentially phase 3, which is a sort of semi, it's temporary space, but working in the woods with, thanks to Elon Musk and his Starlink broadband. And so it's off-grid, solar power, compost toilets.
So you talked about, and we'll talk about the detail of what's here in a sec, but you talked about bringing your people on that journey with you. What did that journey look like, and how did you get them involved, and what was their input?
Just got conversation going. I mean, it came out of people enjoying this slightly weird Christmas strategy day we did, in the winter when you could get together but only outside. So that only worked because we spoke to people about doing it, were they up for it, what would make it comfortable, what would make it doable, and that's what just got an energy going, and people were just throwing ideas in. I think because we were open to doing something a bit weird, we, the staff could tell that it wasn't an empty offer. We'd been in the woods before, so again, they knew it was possible. So it was just bringing people with us, and we just update them with our plans, and they'd feed into them, and they'd say, can we try this, can we try that? So it's just a journey and testing and failing, quite frankly. We did some things that didn't work.
Did you get a few people who were like, that sounds like the worst idea ever?
Yeah. I mean, they didn't say it because clearly some of us were quite keen, but they definitely were pointing out challenges. And that from anything really little from, this sounds really weird, but when you come in the morning, everyone's got a box with like a screen and all their setup and keyboards and stuff in, and you can set up wherever you want. But for some people, that's quite stressful if they like structure and they like to know where they're going to sit. Yeah. So even that can cause stress, not even including the compost toilets. So when we had feedback, it was like, okay, those people need to know where they're going to sit. Yeah. And that's fine. So some of the areas preset, and then they're going to sit, and other people know they just love to grab their stuff and sit wherever they feel, depending on what's going on.
And what's your setup with how people work at the moment? Have you got people working from home and from an office and from here, or is everyone here? Or
so we normally do one day a week at home, which is a bit flexy, and then sort of 4 days working together as a team. Now that could be 2 days in the woods and 2 days at the sort of bricks and mortar office, or it could be 3 days in the bricks and mortar, 1 day here. But obviously, like today, some of the team are out in client meetings, they're not all here. And if the weather's not great and people don't want to, we don't make people do it. It is a choice. It's just the idea is, I think, if you make it an engaging place that's interesting, but also good coffee, good Wi-Fi, comfortable, so it isn't, we're not trying to be Ray Mears. We're not though. We are. It's got to work.
By the compost toilets.
Yeah, by the compost toilet. Yeah, there's a few things like that. But the point was, it was meant to be a professional space, not a joke. Do you know what I mean? So there is a point where we've evolved it, and the tables we've used have changed and things like that.
Making it into professional space, do you bring clients here as well?
Yeah.
And if you do, what are their thoughts?
Yeah, well, they love it just because it's quirky. And actually, there is something weird about fresh air and space, which you know more about than me. But, there's certainly something to do with productivity and creativity. Clients love.
Do you feel you have different conversations out here?
Yeah, because often we're walking.
Yeah.
I don't know how many client meetings you've done where you've actually been chatting about a plan, but done it walking through a woods. I mean, just ideas. They're more open to things, and it's more of feels like you're building a relationship rather than just having a meeting.
And in terms of the challenges you faced sort of structurally, or maybe in terms of getting this built and making it happen, what were some of the stumbling blocks or the learnings along that journey?
Timelines, because again, did the classic, we'll be in by June. So that was an issue. And then it was just a bit of extra work, really, because you put it up, like the Wi-Fi doesn't always work first time, just trial and error, really. But again, because we did it in small groups to begin with, and we brought everyone with us, as in on the journey, everyone fed back if there was an issue, but would come with solutions rather than just problems. So we did getting the thing built, finding the people, because again, it was during or between one of the COVID sort of times, so it was quite hard to get hold of any sort of outdoor structure because they'd all gone to the pubs, so just little things like that.
So you stole this from a pub?
Yes, I nicked it. So there's a pub in Bath. No, I didn't.
And were there any surprises on that journey? Because it sounds like you pretty much had an idea, mapped out a bit, moved quite quickly on it.
Yeah.
Was there anything in terms of like feedback or challenges or anything that made you rethink?
Well, weird things like that table, people getting a bit anxious when they come in, we just hadn't thought of, people thinking, actually I might have thought it's fun, but it's not to everyone. We always wanted it to be a place where I suppose the minimum aim was, can we do at least the amount of work we do in the office, in the woods? That was like the minimum aim. Like you can have the odd team fun day, but you can't make it every week a fun day. And actually the surprising thing is we've actually been more productive in the woods, and actually we estimate it is more than paid for itself. And
that'll be a really interesting point for a lot of people, I think, to hone in on productivity.
Yes.
How are you measuring that?
Yeah. So there's two things. One is we work on a billable hours model, so we schedule work in. So then we also look at scheduled work versus delivered work. So if we hit, what percentage of work have we done that we schedule, and it's higher in the woods. And also we reckon in the last 12 months anyway, we've saved about 30,000 on recruitment fees, because people have come to us and said, that looks cool, have you got any jobs going?
Yeah.
And how much time and effort it takes to recruit people.
Like, are you any good at SEO? And they're like, I'm a forestry ranger.
Yeah. You're like, no, but I just love working outside. And we have had some of those, quite frankly, but it is expensive and time consuming to recruit people. And that was an unintended benefit.
Yeah.
I think what we've realised is the office space, we always looked at it as a cost, but you need to look at it as an investment, I think, would be the simple summary of what we've learned.
That's a drum we bang a lot, I think.
Well, you would. But it is true. Yeah. That's the thing, because it has, whether it be productivity, morale, recruitment, it's all hell. That's not to say it was a straight line and there wasn't a few bumps en route as you discover stuff. And there will be people that think that's ridiculous, I'd never want to work
there. That's not for me.
But that's fine. I mean, some people don't want that.
Well, you're self-filtering, aren't you, for the sort of people.
And almost like that's easy. We're quite clear of who we are and what we do. That's fine. And there's a market out there. If it's not for people, we're not trying to be everything to everyone.
And to go back to the productivity bit, your productivity is higher.
Yes, yeah.
What are there must be some quite nuanced stuff driving that. What do you think is contributing to that?
We've actually we actually sort of had a bit of a chat with one of the universities about trying to measure it a bit more accurately, because there is certainly, that's just our evidence from us recording hours, so you probably want to be a bit more scientific. So I think it's something to do with probably something to do with just being outside in oxygen. You get that after lunch lag, don't you?
Yeah,
Where you drop in
yeah.
energy, you work a bit slower. And what we found is, I think, just having walk-in meetings, having a short walk to the toilet, just having all the fresh air in the daylight, you're just more alert. I think you just got more energy. I think it's probably as simple as that.
Yeah.
Light. You know.
Like the very basic stuff that everyone talks
Yeah.
about, but
Yeah,
just
yeah.
done exponentially here,
Yeah.
because it's all
Yeah,
around
and we
you,
did
yeah.
find in the winter, when we stopped coming in December, because it was just too wet this year. I don't remember how wet it was. By the end of the week, people were saying, I've missed my day of daylight. I feel
Really,
a bit,
yeah.
I just feel a bit,
Well, going back to the daylight point, during COVID, you did quite a lot of deep thought about how to keep people happy and well
Yes.
and engaged, didn't you? So you had longer lunch hours
Yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah.
Can you just cast your mind back a bit and talk us through some of the things you did during COVID to start tackling
well, I
those
think it's
issues?
just that awareness of, well, that was crazy. If you look back at it, it was a bit of a mad time.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it
yeah.
was like people were working. You get up in the morning, it was dark. If you didn't go outside, you'd start work. And then by the time you finished work, it was dark again. So we encouraged people either, to basically have a longer lunch break if they could, depending on kids and that sort of thing. And we were trying to be flexible around that if they couldn't. And have like a 2-hour lunch break when there was daylight and go out. Because you were allowed to go outside for a walk. So go out for a walk and just... Because it's not rocket science that light is key.
Yeah.
You must have been to meetings and conferences and events, and you're sat in a room in a basement, and it's just
Or some
like
Excel centre
Yeah.
with strip lit lights
Yeah, yeah.
all day, and you end up feeling like a zombie by
Yeah,
3
yeah.
o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we ran a training event a couple of months ago, and one of the quite funny quotes at the end as feedback was like, the talks were quite good, but the day was brilliant. But I think if you'd run the same event in a building in the middle of a city, it wouldn't have been anywhere near as good. Do you know what I mean? And the only difference was the location.
Yeah.
I think
But it's
that-
probably true, because there's probably loads of subtle stuff that adds into building that event
Yeah.
as an outdoor space, and it's people's energy and
Yeah,
people's willingness to collaborate and
Yeah.
chat and be a bit different from how they are when they're in a bricks and mortar
Yeah.
building and stuff.
Yeah, and actually, weirdly, I don't know if this has an impact as well, but in the office, we do a thing where every 6 months, everyone moves around where they sit. And that was slightly inspired by Innocent Smoothies years ago, which I worked with, where they don't sit in, or they didn't used to sit in departments. So marketing would sit next to finance, that would sit next to product. So they'd all talk, and it was... But we would sort of went a bit further just because we're not that big, and it was more helpful to sometimes be in teams, sometimes not. And I think in the woods that might be a factor why it helps, because people are generally just... We don't all sit in the same place every time, because you sort of can't.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
sometimes you're outside, sometimes you're inside, depending on how sunny it is.
We do the same interaction where
Yeah.
you're not allowed to sit in the same seat twice.
Brilliant.
So you end up talking to different people every
Yeah.
day and overhearing different
Yeah.
stuff every day. All those tiny things add up to
Yeah.
a really different environment, don't
Yeah,
they?
yeah.
It's really
Well,
nice.
I'd be interested in how you deliver that, because there's a lot of companies that do hot desking, but actually when you speak to them, everyone sits in the same desk.
Yeah,
And if
yeah,
a
yeah.
newbie comes in and sits in their desk, it's like, why is that on my desk? And it's like, I was told it was hot desk. It's like, not really, no.
We're luckily of the size where we can deliver that by literally walking around the floor and going, you were sat there
yeah,
yesterday,
right,
you have to
okay.
move. And we're going, all right.
Yeah. But someone has to police it, because we are creatures of habit.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that is onboarding, making your onboarding good, isn't it? So we're quite clear about that up front, and
Yeah,
people tend
right
to
up
get
front.
it really early,
Yeah.
and then just go along with what those sort of parameters
Yeah.
are.
And the leaders need to do it.
Yeah, and be active in that.
Yeah.
So, what in terms of I think you said you're on stage 3 or phase 3 of this. What does phase 4 and maybe 5 look like? How does this live in the future?
Yeah, good question. One is having so in the winter, not everyone, and that's fine, still want to work here. So we're trying to look at something that's a bit more insulated, but also for breakout pods. So we're sat outside doing this. If the weather's not great, it's still nice to sit or have a breakout space, because it's just one open sort of room at the moment. So have some sort of, more waterproof insulated structures. So that's sort of like a phase 4 for over the winter. We're also slightly weirdly looking at this is a bit of a tangent, but an office in Woodland where people can work by the beach in small groups.
Nice.
And then sort of sort of like, what is the office? How can we work together? But why stop at the woods? The
So
office
what
is
you
the
can
people.
go beach, up a mountain.
Yeah, we haven't done the
What
mountain
else?
yet. Moon, yeah. Well, as long as Elon Musk is there and there's some sun for solar, you're pretty... Well, no, we've got the camper van, which is our sort of mobile office, so you can drive. It's just trying to encourage people to do it.
I'm sort of irritated myself because I mentioned COVID about 3 times during this podcast, and it just feels like ancient history.
Yeah.
But where many companies struggled with that and retreated and sort of changed behaviours, you took loads of opportunity from it and took the chance to rebuild the structure of your business in a way that works way better for people.
Yeah, I think it's sped up. I think we would have done it anyway, actually. I think it just sped it up. So I think we're like, this is your opportunity to review it. I'd be interested to know what would have happened if we hadn't.
Yeah.
But we were fortunate as a business because we'd already looked at our sort of environmental impact and invested in the woods as part of our negating that. So we already had the space. So there is a thing where, you know, I think if someone asked me once, oh, do you think everyone should have a Woodland office? I was like, no, you've got to find out what your thing is.
Yeah.
And what is your version of fun and well-being. And that isn't, you must see different office designs all over the place that work for that company. Like if you work in a lab, clearly working outside isn't, or if you're in a shop, you can't just go, clearly customers aren't there.
But even some creative businesses will want stuff with loads of inspiration and loads of colour and loads of libraries and stuff to get in, and you might struggle to get that in the Woodlands, but what we will get here is some free thinking space and some space.
That's why maybe it works for us, because we only do it 1 or 2 days a week. But then weirdly the week seems to go quicker. And it does depend on your personality, but some people, if you work in different places, the week can feel quicker because you're not just like same old, a bit like sitting in different places.
Yeah.
I think that helps. Often people say, oh, the week seems longer when we're all in one place.
There's probably a bigger picture there about time passing and getting to watch the seasons change and the trees change and the summer start.
Well, it's a different office every week.
Yeah. Like looking at the sea out of your window all the time, and that changes constantly.
Yeah.
Obviously, it does help to have a Woodlands to be able to put Woodland office in.
Yeah.
But a Woodland is also a massive responsibility over a long time period, isn't it?
Yeah.
How's that affected how you think about stuff and how you plan?
Weirdly, I really like it because we're in the search marketing space, and often when you've done something, it's almost out of date.
Straight away.
You've done it.
Thanks, Google.
Whereas a short-term Woodland plan is like 10 years.
So what sort of term are you planning over for the Woodland at the moment?
Well, so some of the plans are like 60 years away, so we'll be long gone. I mean, they say you never own a woods, you just manage it for a bit. So what we're looking at is how we can use the space or share it. So there's obviously organisations we support, like the Children's Hospice Southwest. They're going to come down with some of their families. So I think the next step is how can we, and we've run some events here and have people in, so how can we share the space? Because it is a bit different, but we don't need to be the only ones that use it.
Yeah, well, it's big enough, isn't it?
Well, yeah, there's that,
Just us and the badges.
But then it becomes, there's a balance between not getting distracted by it, because you still got to do what your thing is, you know.
Yeah, at the core of that. And what I'm guessing, people's wellness levels and feedback has generally been good.
Yes.
What specific things have people said to you about working here?
So some people just said they felt more energised and more active, because we have more walking meetings. It's quite flat, so it's quite accessible, so people can just walk around the woods and chat. And I think even that small amount of movement, you know, has a difference. I think it's just that they've just felt more energised and less pressure.
Because I'll do walking meetings occasionally, and I'll start off with a really focused idea of what we're going to discuss, and then quite quickly just talk about a car I've just seen. That might be just
that
me.
Might be.
Do you have to put a bit more of thought into your process around things like that?
So we use Google Business for all our docs, so you can walk around with your phone. There's Wi-Fi in the woods, so you can walk around and still access your folders. There's benches in the woods, so if you stop and sit down and you've got a laptop, you can make notes on your phone or whatever. So yeah, there is a point where you have to be focused, and probably I'm a little bit like you, which is why if I did a walking meeting, I'd probably do it with someone who's from operations. So actually I wouldn't do it with you, because we wouldn't get anything done.
Might see a squirrel. You know,
but if you've got measurable outputs or targets for the day, you know, and actually sometimes those weird meetings aren't a bad thing. You know,
well, no, your mind's got to have the space to go to those places, isn't it, in order to put things together. Yeah,
but there was a balance, obviously.
Yeah, helps. So you've got plans for the future for it. Obviously, it feels like a massive success. Is there anything you wish you'd done differently along the way?
I wish we'd put a more level floor in.
Yeah.
Right,
fair.
Because we will do that. It's a bit bumpy, but
massive concrete floor, some breeze block walls, tin roof.
Yeah, just don't. No, to be fair, I probably just wish we'd done it sooner.
Yeah,
because actually we did have the woods. We just didn't even think about it. So yeah, probably just that.
Obviously, not every business has got woods to move into. Are there things you think other businesses could take from your generalised approach and dial down a bit and use themselves?
Well, the one would be look at the office as an investment. Like generally, whatever you spend on it, that can pay for itself. Don't just look at it as like, I think we've just been very lazy. Like the office space is not, well, I mean, it has for you, but for most people, it probably hasn't changed generally. Like agency offices have a pool table in, so they're a bit cooler than an accountant's office, but essentially they haven't changed for 10, 15 years, if not 20, if I think to the first offices I worked in. That's just lazy leadership. I'm part of that, but I think we just need to think the office is an investment, not a cost. What can we do? And the second part of that is bring the staff with you and chat. They don't necessarily want a woods, but it's just chat about it and get people to think about it and look around, read around, make ideas. You know, I mean, you must do that as part of when you do any gathering of information for design.
We often end up in very different places from where we think we're going to end up because the input from the staff is very different to what we assume it's going to be, and then you end up with these. I think it's like you say, the office can be reimagined in any way we want, and now's the time to do that, isn't it?
And I think there is people are open to it now because of everything and work from home. And I think we're aware also that it's a recruitment tool, as in people have been lazy with their office, so now when people get other options to work at home, which I don't necessarily think it's a good thing to do all the time for a lot of people. Like a lot of our grads, they come in every day because they don't actually want to work from home anyway. But I think it's helped us, realise the value of the office.
I think something we think about a lot is that people just won't put up with crap offices anymore. If they've got to go in 2 or 3 days a week, it better be an incredible office, because you can't get people to come into strip lit, bad carpet, uninspiring environment. And what I really like is people just won't stand for that now. They're like, we've seen a better version of the future, we're going for that.
Well, and there is a lifetime value thing, because I'm not saying it's cheap, but
there's
there is
a proportion of what you spend on salaries and stuff like that.
Well, exactly, and like I say, but genuinely, I'll pretend it was a big strategy, but by fluke, it has saved recruitment fees, so it has paid for itself.
Yeah.
Now, that wasn't our initial plan, but it has. So, that's why I think our point of realising the office is the people, and look at whatever you do as an investment. I mean, they're there.
I think that is an incredible place to wrap up.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tom. Let's go looking for badges.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers, mate. Take care.
What an uplifting 30 minutes of vibes that was too. If you enjoyed it, give us a decent rating on your podcast platform of choice. In the meantime, stay tuned. We'll be back soon with the next series of Thrivalism.